Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. My name's Steve Holland. This is Comic Cuts for the 12th of June 2020, week 12? Week 12, something like that. This week, we're going to do a little cover reveal for the second volume of the new book. The first one we saw last week, so you'll know that the strip is called Longbow. There are various reasons why it's called Longbow. It didn't start out that way when it was originally published. But the strip had a slightly complicated history. Started off as one thing, was then redrawn as something else and renamed, and then continued following a merger in a different comic. So just to separate it out completely from its other iterations, I thought the best thing to do is change the title, re-letter throughout, and that's one of the reasons why it's taken so long to actually get this project off the ground and finished. I've spent the last couple of days gathering material to write up the introduction. I've been doing some little biographies of some of the artists. I think there are 9 or 10 artists who were involved in the strip. Some of them include Don Lawrence, Jesus Blasco, Jeff Campion, Charles Roylance, who is better known for drawing Captain Hurricane, Keith Shone, who is better known for drawing Braddock of the Bombers, Juan Gonzalez Alacruz, I think that's how you pronounce it, who is just brilliant. You may know his work from things like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. He also did The Avengers in Diana, so an incredibly good artist, but astonishing in black and white. And this is quite early in his career as well, certainly his career in the UK. I actually had quite an interesting time tracking down information on him and looking at some of the artwork that he's produced as a comic strip artist and as a painter as well. Very beautiful Valencian style artwork, impressionistic painting that he went on to do after his career in comics. I believe he's still around. One would hope so anyway. He's astonishing. Other artists include Frank Humphries did an episode, and Jerry Haylock did an episode, so it's certainly going to be a good-looking book. The finished book will be published in 2 volumes. I'm still to write the main introduction, and I will tighten up all of these biographies that I'm writing. I tend to overwrite them first, so that I've got, effectively, I'm writing a who's who of British comics. One artist at a time, and there are thousands. But I thoroughly enjoy doing the research into some of these artists that I've never looked at, and you get a chance to look at some astonishing artwork. So that's how I've been spending my week. I think it's time that we actually had a look at the second cover. Second cover is designed by Martin Baines again, who did the first cover, and it's based on a piece of artwork by Don Lawrence. He's done a very good job on these, so once again I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you, Martin. Okay, so I didn't get a chance to film any of the re-lettering, so I might come back to that next week. What I want to do now is talk about a couple of Kickstarter projects that are just about to happen. The first is for issue 2 of the 77. Now, we spoke to Ben Cullis about 2 or 3 weeks ago, so hopefully you're aware of the 77. It's an old-fashioned anthology title, takes its inspiration from the likes of Action and 2000 AD. The first issue was very good. I thoroughly enjoyed reading it, and the second issue I'm absolutely certain will follow in the same footsteps. So it's Friday today, if you're watching this as soon as it comes out. The Kickstarter itself starts on Saturday, and I'll put a link into the notes below. If you're watching this on Bear Alley, there'll be some notes immediately below the video, and if you're watching this on Facebook, I'll put in a link to the Kickstarter in the comments. So that's the first one. Now, the second Kickstarter that I want to talk about is from Tony Foster. Tony's name you'll know from Comic Scene and from Crikey, and he has a number of projects, including an annual called The State of Independence coming out soon, and he has another long-term project which is a history of comics from 1930 to 2030. He's planning to cover each year as a prestige format book in 100 volumes. Which is an astonishing project and something of great scope. So you've got to admire him for that. The Kickstarter is to cover the first 4 volumes, and the volumes themselves will be 1950, 1977, 1984 and 1986. It's no coincidence, of course, that these cover the launch of Eagle, the launch of Star Wars and the launch of Watchmen, so they're going to be interesting years to cover. But yeah, so the Kickstarter has got 48 days to go as I'm recording this, and is for £5,280, of which 35% has already been pledged. Now, I'm hoping to talk to Tony in the near future, so we'll learn more about his plans at that point. So that'll be something to look forward to seeing, as Tony gets very annoyed at me being the latest person to point out that 1932 and 2030 is in fact 101 volumes. And I'm just entertaining myself here. That's it for another week. I really can't think that I've been doing anything else. I spent a whole day translating an interview with Jesus Blasco and looking at some of the astonishing work he did for Europe, like Los Guerreros and El Capitan Trueno. And I'd just like to apologise to every Spanish-speaking person in the world for my awful accent. This morning I was talking to Dave Gibbons, and later this week I'm hoping to talk to Bruce Cornwell, son of the Eagle artist Bruce Cornwell, and to George Chacapino, the son of Joaquim Chacapino, some of whose artwork appeared over here on book covers. So it's certainly an entertaining way to spend my week. Next week, I'm hoping to have a bit more news on the next project, and hopefully I'll have written the introduction to this project, to the Longbow book, and we'll just keep these videos coming as long as we can. I may have to invest in a light because at the moment the clouds are causing me to flicker on and off. I really could do with something that looks a bit more professional. As I said, sometimes I'm a slave to the clouds. I've got a bit of natural light from the window. I've got the light from the office. I've got the desk lamp in front of me and the light of my computer to the right of me, hopefully filling a little bit. I get these horrible reflections off of my glasses, and I really should take them off, but I'm absolutely blind without them. I really ought to invest in some proper lighting, but then again I ought to invest in a decent computer and a decent tablet to record this on. Anyway, with that sad of my technical limitations ringing in your ears, that's it for another week from Comic Cuts, and I'll talk to you again next week. All right, bye-bye. I've lost... Oh, now my computer's gone. I'm using that to light me.